Welcome to Tim's Final Confessions. I'm Tim Durling, Matt Phillips. We're at Matt's place. And it's another episode where we kind of team up, talk about a band we both like. This is a relatively new band, but experienced players, and they don't have a lot of music out there, but what they have out there is really, really good. It's I hate to use the word supergroup, but I suppose that's the best term. And the group is the Winery Dogs. This is a group that's only been around since about 2012, 2013. Kind of the brainchild of Eddie Trunk, the rock DJ, who really wanted to get something together with one of his favorite guitarists, John Sykes. And if you don't know the history, you're probably like, why are you talking about John Sykes? John Sykes, of course, Tigers of Pantang was his first major band, his major label band, the new wave of British heavy metal. Then he joined Thin Lizzy at the tail end of their career. And the biggest, like Matt said, profile gig was in Whitesnake, joining a little bit in the Slide It In era, but mostly writing the majority of and playing the majority of the 1987 album, being sort of unceremoniously booted out of that band. He formed Blue Murder, and he's kind of been in his own world for the past little while. Not a lot of music out of John Sykes. So Eddie, 2012. Yeah, so Eddie, early 2012. Eddie wanted to form a band around John Sykes, and of course, two guys who had played together previously in various projects, well known to the rock world. Billy Sheehan, of course, bassist extraordinaire, all the way back to David Lee Roth's first solo band. He formed Mr. Big, done thousands and thousands of side projects, and probably one of the greatest bassists in the world. And a good bass teacher. Yes, exactly. I've got. I just started learning to play bass about 1.5 years ago. So I mean, he's at another kind of level than everybody else, but he's so awesome to listen to. You should hear him play Addicted to That Rush. And then of course the drummer that's been in I don't know how many bands is a running figure. The actual figures actually sounds like an exaggeration, but Mike Portnoy, best known for Dream Theater, but he hasn't been a member of that band since 2010. So that was going to be the rhythm section, and like I said, Billy and Mike had played together in. Mike had put together a series of tribute concerts. Okay, yeah. So there's a Beatles one, there's a Who one, there's a Rush one. And some of those combinations have, the Who one was really interesting because it had Billy and Mike and Gary Sharon. Oh, that's cool. It would have been really cool to have version music by them. But, so John Sykes, I guess, being John Sykes, dropped out. Yeah, he's the bad apple, as it were. Yeah, so, that was the project. So Eddie then turns his attention to another one of his favorite guitar players that in North America doesn't really get a fair shake. He's kind of almost known as a footnote. And that's Richie Kotzen. Richie Kotzen was one of the Shrapnel Records stable of guitar players. And if I'm not mistaken, not having researched this particular thread, I think that Richie Kotzen was in a band with Marty Friedman. Oh, okay. And I think it was called Cacophony. And it was the... Right. So, of course, Marty Friedman got the gig in Megadeth, and he was with them for many years. And Richie Kotzen, not Megadeth, he ended up replacing C.C. DeVille in Poison in the early 90s, 91, 92, I guess, this sort of all taken place. They did one album, which is kind of a thread unto itself, the Native Tongue album, which is an overlooked album. A lot of people don't like it simply because it's not C.C., but taken on its own merits. It's a good album and great guitar playing, and Richie also demonstrates a little bit on that album that he's a really soulful singer in his own way. And I think if Stand is any indication, he brought a lot of those songs more or less intact. But that's we'll talk about the song Stand in context of the Winery Dogs. So the three of them got together. Where they got the name the Winery Dogs, I'm not 100% sure. No, I think it's just kind of a fun play on. You think of a winery and it's kind of like an upscale, and then you've got the dogs in the street, and so it's kind of an interesting name. And so there are a lot of these, supergroups, whatever you want to call them, quasi-supergroups that are thrown together, and they put out one album and then they disappear, and it's really just kind of music for musicians. And where I like a little bit of that stuff, I actually like songs too, and I think the Winery Dogs have a certain chemistry. I mean, Billy Sheehan still plays with Mr. Big, Mike Portnoy still does all the other bands that he's involved in, and Richie Kotzen also has a thriving solo career in much of the same country, and it just now I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. Richie Kotzen was also in Mr. Big
Yes,
at the
exactly.
tail end of their career. So he did the albums Get Over It and Actual Size, 99, 2001. And those albums weren't successful in North America, but as always, they were big in Japan. They even opened for, there was one show where they opened for, it was Mr. Big, Aerosmith, and the Rolling Stones.
Oh, wow.
So these paths all crossed. But in 2013, what we're talking about today, they actually put out a debut album. We both have it. This is on Loud and Proud Records, which is what I think Roadrunner Records kind of evolved into. And I think that the versions that Matt and I have are just about the same. Looking at the back, no, yours is different. So Matt's got a U.S. copy, and I think the version that I got off Amazon is German. A very little difference. And so, unfortunately, we don't have any vinyl. I have seen this one on vinyl.
There's the band.
Yeah, that's the band there. Oddly enough, when I look at this picture, the way he's got his hair straightened like that, Mike Portnoy looks a little bit like James Bree, his former lead singer. Yeah. So, good band. And it's funny, we were just talking about this before we started filming. The band themselves are capable musicians, obviously. And I would say about the first 4 or 5 songs on this are really, really good, but as I found myself listening to the first album again for the first time in quite a while, I didn't remember any of the songs. Not that they were bad, but they just didn't have that certain something, that spark that makes a song memorable. And you might have thought, and I didn't get this back when it came up, because I thought, well, this is just another side project, and they usually just don't go anywhere. But the reason we're talking about it now is because we know that they can. Yeah. So they went on tour, and it would have been cool to see them live. And Loud and Proud put up this set, which I've got here, called Unleashed in Japan. This is a 2 CD set for whatever reason. CD 1 is a live album from Japan. CD 2 is just their first album again. I'm not really sure why they did that. Matt's kind of got what you might call an expanded version of that, but I'll show you what this looks like. That's this black and white version of the same cover photo that's on the front, the first album. And the live album is cool for a few reasons, not least of which the fact that, yeah, they can pull these things off live. They're a trio. They're just a trio. There's no other extra musicians on stage. Between Richie Kotzen and Billy Sheehan, it sounds like there's about 5 guitarists and bass players, but there's only one. So mostly of the 13 songs, or 10 songs, sorry, on the live CD, most of them come from the first album. There are a couple of cover songs that he does. Fooled Around and Fell in Love, which is the Elvin Bishop song, blues song from the 70s. And
is Criminal on that one? Yes.
Yes, it is.
Criminal is the track that was on the Japanese album of the first album, but wasn't on the American.
That's right. And he does a couple of songs, Richie that is, from his former bands. He does the song Shine, which he wrote for Mr. Big, which is actually a big Japanese hit, and Stand, which is the song that most casual rock fans would know, if nothing else, if they've got the best of Poison or Poison's greatest hits. That song actually was a top 20 single in Canada. I think it got to number 50 in the States. I mean, this is 93. Poison. The fact they put out a gold record is pretty astounding, but that's another story for another time. And when you hear Richie do Stand, the verses are a little bit different, the lyrics are a little bit different, but as I said before, the song...
it's like 85%.
Pretty much intact. And the fact that, you know, Poison's policy was always to credit all 4 band members equally, not really based on equal amounts of input. So, like I said, Matt's got an expanded thing here that I don't have.
Now, this is the Winery Dogs Deluxe Special Edition. Tim, you want to help me pop this thing open?
Dog Treats, it's called.
So this is a little box set. This is the Deluxe Special Edition. And on the back, it says we've got the first CD, which is their debut album, and again, Unleashed in Japan. So essentially, it's what Tim showed you there.
Yeah.
There's a bonus DVD in here featuring music videos and interviews. Mike Portnoy's studio diaries.
He does a studio diary about every project he's on. I've got on Dream Theater's Systematic Chaos. He does a funny DVD where he basically tracks the day-to-day recordings and what goes on.
So at this point, they've only got 1 album out.
Yeah, they're really. I guess it's smart marketing because they probably figured whoever has bought these.
And you can hold up the stuff.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a.
There.
Yeah.
It's
this was a long time coming, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So the first thing we've got going with the wine theme, there's a wine.
So a corkscrew.
Yeah, like a wine stopper kind of
And
thing.
it's cool because for a newer band, they've actually got a logo. And if they, if they were really, really big and really successful, eventually they get to the point where all they'd have to do is put up that paw print, and people would know it's Winery Dogs.
Yeah.
Sort of like the Rolling Stones Lips logo.
Yeah.
It doesn't say anything, but you know who it is.
We're gonna take some stuff out. There's the
So here's the booklet that comes with it. Same color scheme as the first CD. And yeah, it's Mike's studio diary. There's pictures of them jamming. It's interesting that Mike Portnoy's got a very, very scaled down drum kit. And the thing is about the Winery Dogs, when they're at their best, they're not overplaying. It's not a shred fest. They have moments where they do that, but within the songs, they're just playing
Yeah,
them.
somehow Billy, he's one of the busiest kind of bass players, but he's found a way to fit within.
But he reins it in, and also he's a good, good background singer. And yeah, it's a day-to-day of what's going on with the Winery Dogs and how the songs were put together, which kind of a behind-the-scenes look if you're into that kind of thing.
Now here's the actual package.
So this is pretty much, not exactly, it's pretty much similar to the Unleashed in Japan, especially the back covers. Back covers are pretty much the same.
Yep.
And it's interesting to me that they didn't put Criminal on the CD of the studio CD. That would have been an added value. But
A few more things in here. We've got some demos and something I haven't even opened yet.
no, the Winery Pups. So yes, this is there are 8 tracks on here, and all of which Move On is what would become the song Criminal. And this is a DVD with the few videos they have on it. Matt's not opened this, but it doesn't seem, based on what we're going to show you, I don't think there's any need to, except for some interviews on here.
Yeah, and all the videos are on YouTube and stuff anyway. So,
Yeah.
and then just a few other things. There's
A little patch, and of course a dog tag.
Dog tag.
So yeah, so that was so far you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of reissuing that first album. Why are you bothering with this? The reason is that in 2015, when they sort of came on my radar, I knew they existed. When they really came on my radar, I said, wow, this is a band worth getting into. They put up their second studio album, Hot Streak. And this is a killer album. This is just really, really good.
I think I had mentioned when we did a review of this, the first 5 songs on here are probably the 5 catchiest opening songs I've heard on basically any album of that year.
Just keeps you going. You want to listen to what comes next. Good stuff. Again, it's on Loud and Proud Records. And yeah, I think that the additions that we have to these albums are completely similar. It's not as if these guys couldn't write songs before, but now they just seem to get it together. And these are some memorable songs. I mean, the song Hot Streak is great. Captain Love, great song. They do there's some slower ballady type things on here. It's a well-paced, it's a well-varied album, and it just never gets to, it's like the first album, it's all, I found myself going, is this still on? It's not bad, is this still on? This is like, I'm invested in each of the songs, and this is the type of thing I'd like to see them continue to do. So we know they can put out some really quality material. To me, in my opinion, it's the opposite of Chickenfoot, which is another supergroup, which we'll do an episode on them in the future, where I thought their first album was just stellar from start to finish. Second one, not so much. Okay, it's just okay.
That's the first time I've heard you say that. Actually.
Yeah, the first album for me, 10. Second album, a solid 8.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, and I hope they do more too. But this is not the end of the Winery Dogs.
It's not the end of them, but they're taking a bit of a break because.
Well, Mr. Big just put out a new album, Defying Gravity. So they're on the road.
Mike's already in another band with Billy Sheehan called Sons of Apollo.
Yes.
It's got Bumblefoot, Derek Sherinian.
Jeff Scott Soto, then Derek Sherinian, another connection. Derek Sherinian was also in Dream Theater, so they played together before.
Yeah.
All these guys, if you start tracking their discographies, I can't follow it all. So.
Yep. So the latest release from the Winery Dogs, I ordered this pre-ordered it as soon as it came out. This is the Winery Dogs Dog Years, 2013 to 2016. There's live stuff on here. they toured the world, but they recorded the show in Santiago. I assume was probably one of the most exciting things they had done. Here's like a little.
Yeah, South America loves their you know, their classic rock sounding music. All you gotta do is watch Rush and Reno for proof of that. So.
Yep. So this set comes with Live in Santiago. There's 16 songs on here, and then it's got a disc of 8 music videos, and then the Dog Years bonus EP, which is like your songs like Criminal and Moon Age Daydream.
Yeah, a couple of covers on here too.
Yeah, kind of interesting package. I was telling Tim earlier, I've never quite seen one open up like this before. All 5 of them are just in there. So
it's the type of thing where if you break one of them,
yeah, you're like,
you can't really go to a store and find a blank case that's just like that. It's
yeah.
So yeah, Winery Dogs. You know, if you're thinking to yourself, I would say the best comparison I could make is they're like a supercharged Mr. Big. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I think Richie sometimes sounds like Eric Martin a little bit, very soulful. But Hot Streak, if nothing else, I would definitely recommend checking out Hot Streak. It's just great. It's just great. I mean, go to YouTube, check out some of the videos, see what you think. So yeah, Winery Dogs. Not a lot of material, but a lot more based on just packaging. So that's what we've got for Winery Dog stuff, and thanks for watching Tim's Vinyl Confessions.